But the lesson from this statement is a paradigm shift in how most Muslims approach dua. Okay? So he says, وَقَالَ أبو ذر رضي الله تعالى عنه يكفي من الدعاء مع البر ما يكفي الطعام من الملح. That there is enough of dua, or it is sufficient to make enough dua with your good deeds as it is to put salt on your food. It is sufficient enough. There is enough dua. The only amount of dua that's needed for your good deeds is the amount of salt that's needed for your food. What does that statement mean? This is one of the most profound statements of the Sahaba in regards to dua. And I'm telling you, it's a paradigm shift. Pay attention to what he's saying, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. What he's saying is that if you pursue righteousness, Allahu yatawalla salihin, Allah takes care of the righteous. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about the believers, kana haqqan ala Allah, that it is a right upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nasrul mu'mineen, to support the believers and give them victory. And that the difference between the companions and those that came after, the companions pursued good deeds the way we pursue the magical dua. Meaning what? When you are in a state of righteousness, Allah is watching your back already. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is fulfilling your needs already. Allah azza wa jal is causing the decree to be in your favor already. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is causing everything, as Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah said, to conspire in your favor. When you are in a state of righteousness, to where even the things you don't make dua for will be good for you. And the example, by the way, is Maryam alayhi salam. Right? Maryam didn't ask Allah for Isa alayhi salam. She didn't ask Allah for a child. She was in Masjid al-Aqsa. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala liberate it. Allahumma ameen. Ameen. She was in Masjid al-Aqsa making dua, praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then went out as she usually would to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at a certain time of the month. And then Allah azza wa jalla sent her the bushra, the glad tidings of Isa alayhi salam. And it turned out to be the best thing that ever happened for her. Why? Was it because of a dua that she made? No, it was because of her birr. It was because of her righteousness. Now she thought in the moment, this is terrible. Right? Ya laytani kuntu nasiyan mansiya. Mittu qabla hadha wa kuntu nasiyan mansiya. I wish I would have died and been completely forgotten. But when you're in a state of good deeds, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is decreeing in your favor even with little dua. And Abu Dharr is saying that what I see is you guys are putting too much salt and not enough food. The Sahaba asked the Prophet ﷺ for a dua here and there. Give me a dua. The Prophet ﷺ gave them a few words. They said, all right. And then they lived their lives with Allahumma hdini wa saddidni. Right? Allahumma ighfirli. Like these small du'as, not these long, elaborate, poetic du'as. Small du'as, and they went out and searched for the best way to be pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, knowing that if they acted in what Allah azza wa jal commanded them to act in, everything will be in their favor, and the small du'as are enough. Whereas the people that came after Abu Dharr is saying, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, they're always asking for, do you have like a du'a that can get me out of this situation? Do you have a du'a that can get me here? Do you have a du'a I can make for this? That's not what this deen is. This deen is not following the du'as. This deen is following the roadmap of deeds that are pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you please Allah, He will please you. So it's a paradigm shift in how we approach du'a altogether. We look for the exotic spices, Shaykh, like the long poetic du'a, you know, absolutely, like the mawdu'at, the fabricated du'as, these long du'as. We look for the spices. But Abu Dharr is saying the food is the righteousness. The food is the deeds of obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.